Hi, my name is Benjamin Barrile, and I'm coming to you here from my home studio in Toronto, Ontario on a particularly hot summer night. I'm honored to be here. I was asked by Edwin and the SweetWater Music Festival to perform a little bit for you and talk a little bit about myself. I guess I would say my current manifestation in life is that I'm a musician, obviously, otherwise why would I be here? But specifically I play flamenco guitar. And flamenco is a style that I've studied my entire career. Although I do have some classical guitar studies, but I certainly wouldn't call myself a classical guitarist. Classical guitar is its own discipline that I respect greatly. Sometimes people get confused with the two different styles, flamenco guitar and classical guitar. Although they are from the same country, Spain, they are entirely two different disciplines. You might say that, flamenco is like the blues of Spain. Otherwise, I have some jazz studies, but again, I wouldn't call myself a jazz musician per se. I like to say that I don't play jazz, I tend to play at jazz. I like using the tools of jazz to enhance or enrich my particular approach to composing for flamenco guitar. What else? Well, my parents. Growing up, my parents weren't musicians. I didn't grow up in a particularly musical family, but my parents were musical in the sense that they exposed me to a lot of different music. There was always music playing in the house, including flamenco. My mother had a extensive collection of flamenco records, tapes really, and I remember when I gravitated to the guitar, started kind of late, in my view. I started, I guess, 16 going on 17. Prior to that, I thought I was going to become a baseball player, but that became a distant possibility as I aged. But the moment I touched the guitar, I felt like it had been something that had been missing from my life. And I wish I had started sooner. And so I felt that I was trying to make up for a lot of lost time. Practicing incessantly, obsessively, almost to an unhealthy amount. Locking myself up in my room and procrastinating on schoolwork or studying for exams or my mom calling me for dinner. So after high school, I decided to get it from the horse's mouth because at the time there was no YouTube. There was no great resources. I went down to the public library to pick up some CDs and learn about the who's who in flamenco, and I decided to go to Spain and immerse myself as much as I could. I spent a good many months there. It was really my first trip away from home, and I soon discovered that it's not just a form of music, but it's a way of life, and something that I've really learned to embrace, and I feel like I haven't really looked back since. Upon my return to Canada, I decided to study music formally. I went to Mohawk College in Hamilton, Ontario, where I studied some classical and jazz. And admittedly, in the practice rooms, I was practicing flamenco guitar when I should have been practicing other stuff, but I certainly don't regret that. And then in 2005, I graduated and something extremely traumatic happened to me. I went to pick up the guitar one day and I simply couldn't play. My right hand seized. I went to go pluck the strings and it's as if I never played the guitar in my life. It was extremely bizarre and extremely frightening at the same time. I thought it might go away, but it didn't. Every time I picked up the guitar, it would get worse. Trying to control it, there was extreme tension in my arm, and I had to figure out what the heck was going on. So I sought out some help from a musician doctor here in Toronto, and the moment I described the symptoms, he said, you have focal dystonia. I was like, focal dystonia? Okay, well, I entered this new chapter in my life, trying to figure out whether I could sustain a career as a musician with this debilitating condition. Focal dystonia, in brief, is a neurological condition that is focalized to a specific limb. In my particular case, it was my middle finger that would curl involuntarily and kind of shake profusely, especially as I approached the strings. It was kind of like almost a magnetic thing. And it's probably brought on from my obsessive practicing. Practicing for long hours without giving my brain a break, and noodling in front of the TV constantly, always having the guitar in my hand, constantly trying to obsessively perfect something that probably was already perfect. And it's not uncommon. It happens to some musicians. It was just kind of like an obsessive thing that eventually my brain just short-circuited, said that we're not doing this anymore. Anyway, so I entered this new chapter in my life trying to figure out if I could actually sustain a career as a musician. Should I quit entirely and pursue something else? But I decided to, keep going at it and seek out as much help as I could, because I knew some people that managed to recover to some degree. So I had hope. I'm glad to say that in the 15, 16 years I've been dealing with this, I have made some significant progress. I feel like some of the techniques are starting to come back to me. I did have to learn to play the guitar a little bit differently. You may not notice, but certainly a guitarist might notice that my particular approach to playing is a bit different. I had to figure out different ways to execute some of the techniques. Developing the gross motor control versus the fine motor control, which is what was really affected. Anyways, I'm glad to say that in the last 5 years I saw some significant improvements, and I managed to be able to release my first solo guitar album at the end of 2019, just prior to the pandemic. And since then I've been composing more, and that's what I'm going to do for you tonight. I'm going to play for you a new piece that I happen to have written over the span of the 2020. And it's untitled currently, and it's still evolving. But what I can tell you is that it is a flamenco rhythmic form called tangos. And I hope you enjoy. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.